welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love, and sitting directly to my left is none other than the General Attorney Greg Jackson.
Once again, it's on. Once again, it's on, brother love. And you know how we get this thing started, man. How was this? I normally say how's this week for you this past week, but how's this past 2 weeks for you this past week, man?
Greg, man, I'm blessed. Blessed, and I can't say anything. What about you, man? Because you know what? I'm going to just shoot here, Greg. Greg, you were out of the country.
Yeah.
And what I'm curious about, because you go on these trips, and then there's discussion that takes place when you're on these trips out of the country. What was the talk about the United States, man, when you were in Paris in the UK?
So listen, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, the last time we were out of the country, we were in Toronto, and just happened to be sitting in a coffee shop, and I heard overheard some people talking about the fact that Trump said that he was going to be, that Canada was going to become the 51st state, and that was in December. And so this time I was out of the country, and the talk. So when I was in London the last time, the talk was about the hurricanes. Believe it or not, I think I told you that. But this last time over in London, just kind of sitting in the Eurostar station, getting ready to go somewhere else, and heard these two individuals talking about Trump and the Zelensky meeting. And there was a big talk and discussion about how just the day before, while I was there, that Trump and Zelensky had a sit-down discussion where it was supposed to be a kumbaya moment, supposed to shake hands, but apparently Trump and Zelensky and J.D. Vance got into it. I'm assuming Zelensky stormed off. But the more interesting thing is that the next day, Zelensky was in London, having conversations with individuals there about funding to Ukraine for the war and different things like that. So that was one of the big conversations, one of the big discussions was about the meeting between Zelensky and Trump.
But what was your feel when you that was a discussion, but what was your feel? What was your take on how folk in the UK or Paris felt about what was going on in the United States involvement?
So I'm gonna tell you, the UK and Paris are two different places.
Okay.
In the UK, you watch the news, everyone is very tuned in with what's taking place around them from a political standpoint. In Paris, not so much.
No.
Not
so you
much.
can tell the difference.
You can clearly tell the difference. I mean, Paris is more of a chic fashion place. They're more concerned about what they're going to have for dinner that night. Not to say that they're not some smart people. I don't want to say that. But watching the news and watching television in London, it's almost a bombardment with what's taking place in the world today for obvious reasons. Listening to the radio and things like that, it's almost a bombardment with what's taking place in the world. But you get to France, it's ooh la la wee wee.
Everybody chilling.
Yeah, everybody listen. It's just a laid back, setback society and different things like that. But in the UK, there was, from what I heard, just in the conversations, like I said, I go to coffee shops, I sit around, I listen about the effect of the U.S. and the Ukraine parting ways, especially where the Ukraine was expected to sign a mineral rights deal with the U.S. And also the U.S.'s position with Russia, or what they perceive to be the U.S.'s position with Russia. But I kind of saw it a slightly different way. I saw it from the standpoint that if the U.S. is going to have a place in the Ukraine through a mineral rights deal, that the U.S. would then have a vested interest in protecting the Ukraine. And so that's kind of how I saw it. And then when I got back into the States and delved into a little bit more about what happened with the Zelensky or Trump-Zelensky meeting, it appears that they were prepared for what Zelensky did, which was he was going to come on and he was going to grandstand in front of the American people, and he was going to make an appeal for the U.S. giving more money to Ukraine for the war effort. And Trump and J.D. Vance, because I was wondering how it is that J.D. Vance became a part of the conversations, because they were ready and waiting for him to come in and do just what he did, and they shut it down. And after doing that, there was the joint address to Congress where he talked about it, and it appears that Trump and J.D. Vance may have been right on this.
So let me ask you this, Greg, because historically, I mean, a lot of times when we see what we believe is being seen for the first time, meetings like that take place behind closed doors when you're doing the negotiations, correct?
So typically they do, and you kind of know what to expect. But this wasn't even them having a closed door meeting and knowing what to expect. It was how Zelensky has conducted himself when he goes to other places. He always uses that as an opportunity to stand in front of the people in that country or in front of the press and make an appeal for, you know, his country and ask for more money.
Well, here's something, Greg. I gotta tell you that struck me, and it has struck me each and every time I've seen him come to the United States. Greg, what's the first thing you notice about a person when you see them appearing is their appearance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Greg, you know, billions of dollars in support from the United States, and you can't wear a suit. I mean, when you talk about being customary, you can't wear a suit from a country that's giving you billions of dollars.
I mean, listen. I mean, for me, it's all theatrics.
Mhm.
And no knock on Zelensky. I think that what he has had to face as the president of his country, being attacked by Russia, I think that it does not go unnoticed what he has had to endure. And I think that what he's trying to put, the face that he's trying to put in front of the people who see him is that he is a warrior leader, because that's what he dresses as. But now you have to remember, what was Zelensky before he became president?
A comedian.
Yeah, he was an actor.
Yeah,
He was an actor. But you would think, I mean, because you know who else is at war? Putin is at war, and how does Putin dress? You know who else is at war? Netanyahu is at war, and how does Netanyahu dress? I mean, so there's a certain way that I think that you should present yourself as the leader of a country, and I think that, you know, initially what Zelensky was doing, I think that it played on people's emotions. I think that it was a good look. I think it was a good play. But now you're right. I think now he needs to look more presidential.
Because when you bring up Putin, when you bring up Netanyahu, how you pronounce his name?
Netanyahu.
Yeah, when you bring him up,
Mm-hmm.
both of them are conducting them, well, have conducted themselves, and this is not a plug,
Right.
but they've been in the attire that you would expect. That, I guess, Greg, maybe we too accustomed to that. Am I too accustomed to that?
Well, listen, like I said, he is the president of his country. I understand that initially, caught off guard, someone invades your country, you want to be in the trenches with your guys, but now you are appealing to other world leaders.
Mhm.
Come and present yourself as a leader of your country, and to sit there with fatigues on and a sweater, and I hate, and it seems like a little thing, but really and truly, it's how you presenting yourself to the world at this point, and you need to present yourself as a leader.
Let me say this to you. And you know I have a nice van collection,
Mm-hmm.
and you know I wear my Vans with my suits.
Right.
But Greg, when I'm going into a Top Chef meeting,
Right.
do you think I'm wearing my van?
No, and then you can't. You can't. When you're going asking, like you said, I mean, because that is what he is here to do. He's here to appeal for additional support for his country in this ongoing campaign.
You're right.
And, you know, like I said, to me personally, yeah, I liked what I saw initially, because I thought, hey, you know, listen, this guy, he's fully vested. You know, he's in the trenches with his guys. But right now, you're out of the trenches and you're trying to get some support for your country right now.
So Greg, that meeting took place and it didn't go too well.
Well, it didn't go too well for him.
For him.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Initially.
you know, we keep getting reports that President Zelensky is looking to come back and I guess making some concessions for the United States support.
I mean, no, listen, within one day of the meeting happening, he sent word
Oh, okay,
back.
okay.
I mean, listen, within one day, he said, you know, listen, I'm looking forward to working with the U.S. under Donald Trump's leadership. I'm willing and I'm ready to come back to the table to negotiate. So that's why I said it appears that when people were looking at this as, oh, you know, listen, Trump and J.D. Vance, you know, they're gaslighting this issue, you know, they're going to start this and Russia's going to now, you know, escalate its efforts. I think, personally, like I said, when I heard about the deal that Trump is thinking about with the Ukraine, I personally thought it was a good idea, because what happens is you now put yourself in direct fire of what's taking place in the Ukraine. And now you have a true vested interest. Instead of just sending them money or sending them resources, you now have a vested interest to keep your interest in that country or in that particular area safe.
I'm gonna skip and keep us in the same context.
Yeah.
Because what you're talking about, Greg, is somewhat akin to when you look at U.S. what is it called? USAID.
Yeah.
The situation that's
Yeah.
taking place.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar, USAID funds other countries, correct?
That is correct.
And it funds different projects. I mean, it's an array of them. But then when we look at the type of the amount of funding and the type of initiatives that United States taxpayer dollars are going to, it shocked a lot of people.
It did shock a lot of people.
It shocked a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about, and I know it's, you know, these are totally, completely different, but here's what I would say to that, Greg, is when we started looking and drilling down about USA
Mm-hmm.
and the different causes, I think about veterans that are in the United States that could benefit from, Greg, these are $1 billion that have been awarded to other countries. One was to look at, what is it called, Greg? Transition in mice or something.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
What was that,
Yeah,
man?
The transitioning, you know, like
Transgender something, yeah,
transitioning.
yeah.
But it was for mice. Yeah, you're right. And then they had like the transgender plays that were in areas that were not so keen on LGBTQ, you know, culture and things like that. Yeah, I think that monies, U.S. taxpayer dollars that have been spent for those things, you know, they should be looked at more closely.
And be scrutinized. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
of
right.
course.
And you know, the interesting thing, Greg, is when we saw a lot of people that were on the different networks and they were talking about all the things that USA, and I'm not going to say that it doesn't do some good things. Don't get me wrong, but Greg, there should be a level of accountability. There should be some scrutiny that's taking place. And a lot of the folk that we saw that were talking heads, come to find out they weren't actually USA employees, they were consultants.
Right. That's right. Listen, this is the thing that I always have questioned. I'm going to continue to question. When is it and why is it that we as American taxpayers are questioning someone doing an audit of how money is being spent? It doesn't matter. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Elon Musk. I don't care if it's Jesse Jackson. I don't care if it's, you know, you name the person. If that person is going in and is assessing how our tax dollars are being spent, and if they make a determination that our tax dollars are not being spent appropriately, they should bring it to the attention of the American people. And that's what I see that Elon Musk is doing. Now, the issue and the main problem that most people have is that Elon Musk just happens to be one of, if not the richest man in the world right now. And they take that to mean that, oh, if he's the richest man in the world, then him going in and making these cuts is to hurt, is to hurt the underdog. No, what he's doing is he's going in and he's trying to show us the inefficiencies of how government is run in much the same way that you would do if you had your own private business.
And you're absolutely correct. But Greg, here's something that I'm hearing more of, and I'm a little bit more satisfied with this, where a lot of folk don't have a problem with the scrutiny. A lot of folk don't have a problem with the accountability. What I'm hearing from a lot of folk is they don't like the process. And you know what, man, you don't have to like the process all day long when you're getting that. Greg, no matter how they did it, you're going to have a lot of folk that was not going to appreciate what was taking place with the scrutiny of the USA aid dollars. Just not.
I mean, but listen, it's not just USA dollars. I mean, you're also talking about, you know, dollars from other organizations. And as a matter of fact, I mean, word from inside the Trump camp is that Elon Musk and Marco Rubio may have had a clash, so to speak. Now, Trump is saying that it didn't happen. Everybody gets along famously, but he's not just limiting this to agencies that people feel are giving monies or dollars to Democratic causes or liberal causes. He's looking at everything across the board. And again, you know, when is it and why is it that we as American taxpayers have ever had a problem with someone going in and saying, hey, you're wasting taxpayers' dollars? I mean, listen, let them do it. And if they're wasting the dollars, get rid of the waste. And if the dollars aren't being wasted, then let's continue those programs.
And I noticed you, and I know you didn't do this intentional, but there's two other former presidents that also had task force that were intended for waste, fraud, and abuse. One was President Clinton, and another one was President Obama.
And listen, under President Obama, remember, they actually came out with the CFPB, or the CPFB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, so the CFPB, specifically geared towards the protection of consumers where there was a misuse of taxpayers' dollars through organizations, that were taking unfair advantages of the American public and American people.
Greg, are you familiar at all with doing those two administrations? I'm just curious. Was there any cuts within the federal government?
Yeah, heck yeah. Remember, Clinton was the one that came in and wanted there to be, I guess for lack of a better term, a spin down of welfare benefits.
Well, I do know one initiative that he put forth, and that was anybody receiving subsidies, then you could be Section 8 or food stamps if you would, that you had to turn in each month at least that you were seeking employment. So you had to turn in job applications, I think it was like 3 or 4 a month.
Right.
The
right.
difference, do you see what the difference is that's being proposed now, is that you have to have a job, albeit it may be a low wage paying job, but you have to have a job to continue to get your Section 8 and food stamps.
Right. Right. You can't just live
Correct.
just free and things like that. Listen, which I don't necessarily have an issue with.
I don't have an issue with that whatsoever.
But listen, a lot of the stuff that is being proposed by this administration, the Trump administration, has been proposed by other administrations in some form or fashion. Whether it is, the cut on, to welfare benefits by Clinton, whether it was attacking or addressing the illegal aliens in this country, which President Obama did, and spoke vehemently about people coming into this country illegally and removing those individuals. That is something that Obama said, and that's pretty much the same thing that that Trump is saying. So for people to come in and say, well, hey, this has never been done, it has been done before.
So, Greg, what do you think, because there's a great deal more criticism, you can talk about proposing something versus actually executing on what you say you want to do. And that's where I think we're seeing a great deal of the criticism. But Greg, guess what? I expect that criticism because you see things are actually being done. And there's a lot of folk, Greg, that will differ with it actually going. I mean, man, for what, 50, 60 years you get accustomed to something?
Yeah, but listen, there's an old saying, Brother Love, and it says, it goes this way. If you want people to like you, sell ice cream. Trump ain't selling ice cream. He ain't selling ice cream. He is not here to be liked. He's here to shake up a system. 77 million people or 76 million people voted for Donald Trump to do pretty much what he's doing now. To some extent, I know that there are some people who are government employees who voted for Trump and who are now losing their jobs and saying this is not what they, what they voted for, to lose their jobs. But there's a large swath of the American voting public who supported Trump and who still support Trump for the things he's doing. As a matter of fact, I was listening to an African American female, and I forget her name, but go check on YouTube. This is not Greg Jackson. This is me reporting what has been seen and what's been said. There's an African American female, Latasha Catania, something like that, and she basically said that this is the first time ever that she has voted for a Republican. And she said she voted for a Republican, she's been voting for Democrats, and they never delivered on what they told her that they were going to do. She said that when she voted for Trump, one of the things he talked about is that he was going to help to remove the number of illegal immigrants that were in this country. There were some other things she talked about. She said that everything that he said that he was going to do, he has done. She likened it to going to Vegas and putting money in the slot machine, and you pull it and nothing happens. And then you put your Republican coin in and pull it and you hit the jackpot. But that was kind of cool. I mean, listen. I wish I was that smart to think of it that way. But I'm not saying that. But she said, no, look, I was putting in my Democrat coins all these years and pulling the lever, hoping that it would finally pay off, and it didn't. And I put in my one Republican coin
And hit the
believing
lot.
in
Yeah.
Donald Trump and him saying doing what he said he was going to do, and I hit the jackpot.
Well,
And there are a lot of people, not just white people who don't like black people, because that's who they say voted for Trump, are the white people who don't like black people, which I think is ridiculous. Just different people have different ideas. But there are a lot of people who aren't just white people who voted for Trump, who i.e. are African American, who are Hispanic Americans, who are pleased with what's taking place. And the other thing too, and I hear this a lot, and we talked about this when Joe Biden won the election. We got to give him time. And that's one of the things that we said. And I say, listen, I wasn't a fan of Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee. I thought that there were other more qualified Democrats that should have gotten the nod for that position. But at the end of the day, what I said and what I heard my friend to my right agree to is, at the very least, we have to give him a chance. We have to support the things that he does right. Unfortunately, within a year, we found out that he was not the man for the job.
You're absolutely correct. Hey, Greg, I'm going to shift gears on you real quick. Greg, tariffs.
Oh, yeah.
What's the update on the tariffs? Because I I see us moving forward, and I know right now, tariffs on auto, I think with the auto industry,
It's on pause, right?
on a 30-day pause, I think.
Yeah.
It was real specific. Now, we've never heard in the past, I mean, the discussion about tariffs, they come and they go.
Right.
But then this pause was real specific. Normally when you hear pause, if you leave an open end date, people are not really gonna pay attention.
Right.
But when you hit this pause about 30 days, that's real finite. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts about what's taking place with tariffs?
I mean, what Trump has said, and I tend to agree with him, and I think a lot of people agree with him from a from a fairness standpoint. But there are a number of countries that impose tariffs on U.S. goods when they go into those countries, and the U.S. has not been imposing tariffs on them.
Mhm.
So the thought process is that we are going to now impose reciprocal tariffs. The other thing also, when we talk about specifically Mexico and Canada, it is that this country is looking to impose tariffs on them because there are certain things that are taking place at the border or in other circumstances, situations that the use of tariffs may be a good way to negotiate with them to do certain things. I.e., one of the major concerns was the influx of fentanyl coming into our country from the northern and the southern borders. The tariffs, once you control these, this fentanyl, production and trafficking across the lines, then we will lift the tariffs. Now, Mexico has pretty much said, listen, we're ready to work. After they got through the initial, you're not going to do this to us. We're going to do reciprocal tariffs and all this other stuff. Now they're saying, no, listen, we think we do want to work and try to figure this out.
Greg, break this thing down for
Yeah.
us a little bit. I was out fishing with some buddies, and I was talking about, we fishing, and I'm talking about tariffs.
Right.
He said, Brother Love, break this thing down for me. Help me to understand this a whole lot better. So then I said, okay, products from China coming to the United States, duty-free.
Pretty much, yeah.
I said, but then when the United States look to ship products to China, we don't have they charge us a large tariff, a tax, if you would.
Which is basically what it is. That's
And,
exactly what it is.
and so this has been taking place
Decades.
for decades.
Yeah.
And now we're saying, hey, if you're charging us to come into your country, we're gonna go ahead and look at, as you mentioned, reciprocal tariffs.
Right.
So why is it such a bad thing? Why is it being presented as such a bad thing?
Well, it's being presented as a bad thing because a lot of folks feel that we have to depend on these other countries to provide us with the items that they're producing. For instance, cars, electronics that come from China, they come in, they are made cheaper in China for a lot of different reasons, and so we feel like if we impose a tariff on them, that's going to cause the price of those items to go up. Now, to the contrary, something that can also happen is that gives an American company an opportunity to produce those same things because now they're on a level field where the Chinese were able to get their products in without being taxed, and so they could sell them at a lower price. Now, and that's why American goods appear to be higher priced than other items because those items are getting in here without having to pay those extra taxes, those extra penalties.
What I hear you saying too, and correct me if I'm wrong though, but when you look at, let's say some other countries, and China being one, whereas you have products being mass produced and the labor cost is real low, and even including child labor, whereas if you look at the United States, we got child labor laws, we have labor laws.
You have environmental laws. I mean,
So it's not a level playing field, if you will.
Right. I mean, and remember, there was a time period, especially in the early 2000s with housing materials and different things like that were coming from China where we found that they were of a lesser quality. And I'm assuring you that, there are a lot of products that come into this country from other countries that are of a lesser quality, that, these tariffs are going to help to allow Americans to produce certain items to where they can be sold and produced on American soil. A lot of the vehicles, I mean, BMW is a German company, but a lot of their vehicles are actually, put together to some form or fashion here. I want to say, where is that in South Carolina or North Carolina? Where they,
I know exactly where you, yeah.
So that gives, the U.S. an opportunity to further produce things and not being penalized because our prices appear to be higher than what they are for our competitors.
Greg, do you know any of the particulars? Because when we talk about tariffs, one of, the major countries that have really been pushing back has been Canada.
Yeah.
What's the update on that, man? I mean, you familiar with the nuance of that, if you will, because right now I hear in Canada, and I mean, well, let me not say I hear, what's being reported is that they're taking American products off the shelf.
And listen, that's not gonna hurt us. I was in Canada, and one of the things I heard, one of the items in particular that they're taking off the shelves is American bourbon and American whiskey. I went to the liquor store in Canada. Nobody was rushing to the Canadian whiskey.
Okay.
Understand what I'm telling you? American whiskey, if that's one of the products that we're looking at, American whiskey is going to be fine even without the Canadian market because the Japanese buy a great deal of American whiskeys. The Europeans buy a great deal of American whiskeys. So for Canada to be taking certain things off of their shelves, yeah, it may sting in the short run, but the people in Canada are going to rebel because they're going to realize that a lot of the products that they've come to enjoy, higher quality products, are actually coming from this country.
So Greg, what and don't I have no expertise in this area, but one of the things when I'm listening to a lot of the back and forth, Greg, the worst case scenario, man, that I can imagine takes place is that America benefits from this because if the playing field is not level as it is right now, and if we can get anything out of this as it relates to tariffs, to me it appears that America wins.
So this is what our projections are going to happen. Now, and listen, Donald Trump was very upfront with the American people, and I appreciate him for that. He said that it's going to hurt for a little bit, and it is. I mean, when you are changing the economic position or the economic policy of a country to where you're now imposing tariffs on some of the larger producers that are coming into your country, and there's a possibility that they're going to be imposing tariffs on you and the cost of this. There's going to be a pinch. But Brother Love, I remember 3 years ago we were going into the grocery stores and there weren't food on certain shelves.
Yeah.
So listen, we are American people. We're Americans. We have been through tough times, and I don't think that this is going to be as tough as what people say it is. Now, our car price is going to be higher, yeah. But a lot of times, what do? We don't buy new cars at that particular time. We just wait for the prices to go down, whatever the case may be. Are there going to be certain foods, like I'm hearing that eggs or something like that are like $9 a carton? That's not going to always be the case, and it shouldn't be the case now. Because I understand that the Egg Council, which I didn't know there was an Egg Council, but apparently there's an Egg Council that is now looking at it to see if these egg producers are artificially inflating prices and all of the other stuff. So I'm just saying that to say that as Americans, yes, there's going to be some discomfort, but those things are going to level out over time. Just like right now, well, we were talking about this with Brother Armando, even with the tariffs, look at the havoc that is playing on the stock market. Look at the havoc that it's having with cryptocurrency and different things like that. But for me, much like, and this is not to that level, so I don't want anybody to run out there saying that we said this. This is not like the Great Depression where you had deflation, but this is an opportunity right now as an investor where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to put more money into the stock market. This is a great opportunity to put more money into the stock market. So I'm viewing this also as an opportunity, but I'm also viewing this as an opportunity to just look back and say, okay, what can I scale back on for now? Because it is going to be a little bit of a struggle until things level out and the other parts of the world realize that you can't impose tariffs on the United States and expect it to hurt us more than it hurts you.
Well, you said it. You said a mouthful, brother. Greg, here's something, man, that I stayed up. I think close to 11 o'clock to watch, and I'm talking about none other than the joint address to Congress by President Trump.
The longest joint address to Congress in the history of addresses.
And who was the president that had the longest before this?
I have no idea. I just know who's the longest now.
Oh, okay. Because I know they said it was.
Because I thought all of them were around about the same time.
Greg, did you watch it? Did you? And Greg, here's.
Listen, I was just getting off of a plane from London, and I came and I sat down in front of my television to watch the joint address. So yeah.
I watched it, and I mean, Greg, we can talk about the various things about it, but here's something, man, that as I watched it, man, I was sitting back saying, there's got to be things that we can all applaud when I see a 13-year-old who is a survivor of brain cancer and aspires to be a law enforcement officer, and that night gets an honorary, was it Secret Service?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, Secret Service badge, yeah.
you, you couldn't applaud that? Let me keep going now for a second here. Then I also see a woman, a widow, of a husband who lost his life in the line of duty. And you can't applaud that. I looked up, Greg, and I mean, if you can applaud those things, then you sit back and you hear the discussion about, hey, you buy an American-made vehicle. The interest on the vehicle, you can deduct it from your taxes, henceforth. That, everybody can applaud that too. But Greg, I say those things, and there was a bunch of other things that I thought, as an American man, no matter where you sit, you can embrace it. What was some of your thoughts about, I mean, that stuck out to me, man.
So as a resident Democrat that sits at this table, what I can tell you is that, you know, should the Democrats agree with everything that Donald Trump says? Absolutely not.
Correct.
I have a good friend, you know, a friend of the show also, John Burns. He and I, we were having a conversation. One of the things that John said, and he said, you know, listen, I appreciate the fact that we have a government that you have opposing views, because it keeps everyone in check and keeps everyone in balance. So, you know, you don't want a government where everyone is agreeing on everything that somebody does, because now you no longer have the checks and balances that's needed. But I will say that when there are opportunities to applaud and to agree with something that is good for this nation or good for a particular area, you should be willing to set aside your dislike or your disdain for a person to cheer the accomplishment or the situation or the circumstance. And you're absolutely right. When there was a 13-year-old boy who happened to be African American, who happened to be a brain cancer survivor, who happened to have been an honorary officer of, I think, 13 of the law enforcement agencies, whose dream is to be a law enforcement officer, standing there, and all of a sudden he is told that he is going to become an honorary Secret Service member, and his eyes get as big as saucers. You know, my eyes almost welled up. He turns and he hugs the Secret Service officer who presented him with his badge, and then you look in the gallery, and Democrats are sitting like this. It disturbed me because you could not celebrate this young man who was having a dream fulfilled. The other young man who was a sixth sport athlete, I believe his dad had been killed or something like that, but his dream was to go to a military academy. And that night he found out that he was accepted to West Point. And you look in the gallery, and the Democrats were like this. You could not celebrate those moments. A 12-year-old girl who was murdered by an illegal immigrant who was a part of a notorious gang, which is now considered to be a terrorist organization, which I think is a great move. Her mom is sitting there, and her mom is told that her daughter, who loved animals, is going to have a wildlife sanctuary named after her. And you look in the gallery, and Democrats are like this. And that's disturbing to me, because you have to be able to find some commonality of something that you can cheer about together. And the stuff that you argue about, go ahead and argue about that, because we always say on this show, what's up, Doc? I see you there, bro. But we always say on this show that iron sharpens iron. And what that means is that we're not always going to agree that there are going to be some rough points, but those rough points is what makes us stronger. And Democrats are making it seem as if, you know, there's nothing that they can celebrate with what's taking place right now. What's going on, Doc?
I had to.
The long
Y'all was running too wild. Y'all was running too wild. I had to jump in and rein y'all back in. Again, I get that about what you're talking about the people he brought there to celebrate, and I won't disagree with that. That Democrats should have. I think they were protesting the reasoning, his reasoning behind having those people there. And you know as well as I do, it was for political points. Because when that young man possibly tries to become a Secret Service agent, will he be challenged that he's only there because it's DEI?
Well, he's never going to make it because he doesn't have the mental acuity to do it.
But I'm saying,
it was more symbolic than anything else. Because remember, he's never. I mean, this young man has has had brain surgery.
Surgery, yeah, I know.
Physically, he would never be able to pass the rigors to become an actual Secret Service agent. So yeah,
But again, it was an opportunistic. I think that's why they were sullen about it, because it was an opportunistic show. It wasn't a genuine celebration.
But you're not.
It wasn't a
celebrating- You're not celebrating the show. You're celebrating the young
No.
man who got this surprise.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. It's kids like that every day,
Where?
all over the TV. You must not watch St. Jude commercials.
Yeah, I don't see none of them that have been inducted in the 13 of the law enforcement agencies that came up with the law enforcement uniform, whose dad was there, who was celebrating the fact that they had a president that recognized who he was and what he was doing.
There's nothing wrong with celebrating that. What was wrong is the scenario in which it was done and why. That's the problem with that.
But Doc,
Do
Doc,
you do you think see there's a what do you call it, photo ops, optics. He did this strictly for the optics of it.
Doc, you've never seen a Democratic president recognize individuals doing a joint address to Congress. Have you ever seen that before? By a Democratic
Yes,
president?
and they are
So
doing the
why is
same.
it so
Well,
bad?
no, I didn't say that. See, you putting words in my mouth. It's wrong when they do it too.
But I don't, Doc, I can't
It's
say that
see,
it's wrong.
this is what's wrong with our country. Everybody's emotional. You see that man ran through that dealership because he couldn't manage his damn emotions, and we let things like this trip us up. And right now I heard you saying about the fact that that the people doing things against America, like the tariffs and stuff, that we'll get them back. We can't get the whole world back, and we are losing credibility. We're attacking an ally. This country is an agreed upon ally of the United States, right? And those two gentlemen sat there and sought to humiliate another world leader. If he was treated that way and went to Ukraine and he was treated that way by the Ukrainians on national TV, we would flip the script. This country
So
would,
now,
we'd be ready to go over there.
Let me tell you how humiliated he was, Doc. He was so humiliated that he came back and said Trump was right.
He's trying
He was
to,
so humiliated.
he
that
is-
said-
this
he was
man-
so humiliated,
this
he
man-
said that I am ready to
You-
work with the American
and-
people under the leadership of Donald Trump.
and he is saying that for the benefit of
Of
protecting his country,
Of his country, right?
of his country.
Okay, so Doc, on with that same scenario, here's what I will ask you.
Mm-hmm.
When we hear stories about USA aid, when we look at what was being recognized that night in the gallery, Doc, I just ask you this simple question. Can America continue to be everything to everybody when at
No,
home,
no.
we're struggling?
No, we should not. We should not be doing all this. Regardless of who's in the White House, we should not be the fireman, the doctor, the mortician, and all of these things to everybody in the world. And we got to stop. I applaud them for
and I
doing
agree
that.
with you. No
And
matter
I
who-
applaud them for doing that because for far too long, what Americans don't understand is the rest of the world has let us finance everything on the backs of the American taxpayers, regardless of who was in our office. So we got to stop that madness. If I was sitting in that chair, nobody would get nothing. You either
Say
put
that
up or
again,
shut
Doc.
up. If I was sitting in that chair, all these countries around the world,
Yeah.
they have to fish or cut bait.
And you know what else you do, Doc?
And-
You would impose reciprocal tariffs too, would you?
I would make sure that we are within
Yes, you
reason.
would. Listen, that's what you're
Within
saying.
reason.
You're saying that these countries are getting things from the United States and they're not paying their fair share. You're saying the same thing Donald Trump's saying.
Here's what I would do. I would put the infrastructure back in place so we no longer are dependent on those foreign goods and services.
But how do
So,
you,
wait. But that's what Trump is saying.
But what is he all he's doing is tearing apart. What is he building? What is he building?
The exact same thing you just said.
No, no. What
He ain't doing it.
I said,
All right. Okay,
I
so
said
now,
I
wait,
would
wait,
put.
let's go
I,
to the point,
no,
let's go to
no,
the
no,
point.
no.
The
Now
first
see,
thing you
he's
said
trying to
you would
lawyer
do,
me,
you do what
Rod.
now?
See,
What's
he's trying to
the
lawyer
first
me.
thing you said
See,
you do?
he's trying to beat me up like he in the
No, what's the
courtroom. You
first
ain't in
thing
the
you said
courtroom.
you do? You
Look
said
at
you put
here.
the infrastructure back, right?
Right.
How would you do that?
I would approach industries and see who needs funding to help expand. I take that money
Right.
that
So
we
how
send it
would you, how would you
overseas
find the money? How would you find the money to determine what industries needed the money? You would
because
audit, right?
I would see. Yep. I would audit. I would take. But he's
Yeah.
not. What? Okay.
that
So
what
where
those
are the
That
auditors?
is.
Wait a
that
minute.
what
And
Wait a
Doty's coming to the
minute.
state
Wait a
level
minute.
too, Ray.
Wait a
You
minute.
know
But,
that, right?
but where are the auditors? They're not auditing anything.
What qualifies you to be an auditor?
You know what to look for.
Okay, and you're saying
You-
they don't know
you-
what to look for. They have
They-
computer
they are not
algorithms. They have computer algorithms that they plug in, and they're going in and they're finding waste in all these agencies.
Hey Doc, hey Doc, General. Let me say this. Hey, don't go nowhere, Doc. But let me say this. And
Hey, I'm giving me a cool drink.
Now
Okay,
listen, but listen, I'm
lawyer-
agreeing. I'm agreeing with you. But I'm agreeing with you. But listen, that's exactly what Trump. And I'm not even a Trump fan. Understand? What I'm telling you. But the exact same thing that you're saying that you would do if you were sitting in that seat. If I was sitting in that seat, nobody would get nothing.
So
I agree with
so,
you.
So
what
you,
you do
you
is
think
if you have countries that are benefiting from sending products to our country and not having to pay tariffs, but if we send something to them, we're getting taxed out of the yin yang. You want to stop that, right?
exactly?
But
Do you-
Doc, you're saying the same thing that actually is being done.
Yeah.
Do you
No,
realize that?
there's a way to do anything.
So
Hey.
how would you do it?
I wouldn't do it to where it would be destructive. I
But
would
how
make
would you
sure.
do it? What's the easy way to
Like
do
I
it?
said, is work on the infrastructure, withdraw all our money. I put a moratorium.
But let me say
Listen,
this. But
no. Hold, now y'all ask me and then you cut me off. Now, doggone it, you either gonna let me talk or you're not. Okay, I put a moratorium on foreign aid. I cap
Okay.
everybody. Okay, you won't get no more, no less. I take that money saved, get with American companies, and regrow the infrastructure to create jobs and return industries to our shores.
Okay.
Okay, and build our economy where we're not so reliant on things like imports.
And
Then
oil,
that lessens the impact of tariffs.
oil and energy.
Exactly.
Dog, you doing it? You saying the exact same thing?
I
this
get
administration is
I
doing.
get what he's saying. Why are we buying electricity from Canada?
Because they need it in the northwest portion of the United States right now.
Hey, here's let me
It's
just
not,
say
it's
this.
not, it's
But-
not the entire U.S. now. It's just that.
I know. It's I think it's 1.4 or 5 million people.
But the general Doc, I'm gonna say this. I hear what you're saying, Doc, that you say you'll do this and you'll do that, and the other part of this is you wouldn't do it that way. Here's what I gotta say to that, Doc, and you know I'm your boy. But when you realize
To the
You
general
got-
come.
no. Hey, Phil, what is
Hey, y'all see, let's talk. They see how they gang up with me.
No, don't hang up. But
gang up on
I ain't hanging up now.
hey, but here's Doc, just answer this question for me. You have 1,460 days to get done with what you're talking about accomplishing. You got bureaucracy that's in your way. Doc, what other way are you gonna get it done if you don't take some drastic measures?
This man ain't never been as successful at a damn thing in his life. What makes you think he is gonna do this?
So now you got to listen. Now you got to give credit where credit is due. Now, so you say he has done nothing that was successful.
Trump,
Yeah.
all he did, he's a con artist.
No. So no, that's not my question. I'm not
He
saying
good
no,
at-
no, wait,
oh,
hold on, wait.
no.
My question is, this is just my question. Are you saying that Trump, throughout his lifetime, whether as a businessman, as a politician, has not done anything successful?
It depends on what you define as success. Fleecing your people who work for you,
No, that's
is
not
that success? No. Because
No, it's not success.
it's merit based. He has stolen more wealth than he's generated. He's beat no
Hey,
Wait, now, where
okay.
where's the documentation of this theft?
Okay, I knew you was gonna go there. See, you're a lawyer. A damn
Hey, let
lawyer
me do
always
this.
want paperwork.
Let me
Huh?
do this. We got 10 minutes left. We got 10 minutes left. Greg, some Black Americans are pretty pleased with the first 40 days so far. Is it 100 days now?
No, it's not 100 yet. It's not 100 yet. I mean, I don't even think we're in 90 days yet.
So let me ask you succinctly, because I got some other stuff I want to hit you with. Why? Why do you think?
I mean, it's like I was saying, a young lady, and Doc, I don't know if you heard this, this young lady who said she voted Republican for the first time. Now, whether or not she's telling the truth, I don't know. But she said, and I have to take it for the truth unless someone shows me otherwise, that this is the first time she's ever voted Republican. And based on what Trump has said that he was going to do when he ran for president, that he has done the things that he said that he was going to do, and she's pleased with that. Now, for some people, and we've talked about this, for some people, some of the more important things was not, LGBTQ issues and things like that. Some of the things that were more important to us were things related to illegal immigration. Some of the things that were more important to us was securing our border. And what they're seeing is that their efforts being taken to secure the borders here in the United States. The other thing is becoming more energy independent, like what Doc is talking about. Trump, like it or not, recognize it or not, when he was in office the first time, he was the one that made a move to return the U.S. back to self-reliance on our own energy. And that's some of the things that people are looking at, and they're saying that is what they voted for him for. Now, are gas prices still up? Yeah, but listen, it takes time for these things to cycle through and to happen. And like I said, when Joe Biden became president, he came in at the tail end or right in the midst of a pandemic. Let's give him time. And we gave him time, and it didn't work out.
But here's something I think a lot of people can get their arms around, and when they think about it, they take a pause, and that is, can we agree that, well, a great deal of the objectives we can agree upon? I mean, when you roll out and you say, okay, in the United States, there'll be two genders, male and female. When you roll out and you have the discussion about boys and girls bathrooms, when you roll out and you roll out a litany of things that you can agree on, but what you can't agree on is the how to get there.
Right.
And we're not all agree on that.
Did you
So-
see? Did you see unisex bathroom in Paris?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw him
Okay.
in England, too.
Did you see him in England?
Yeah. I saw
So-
him in the U.S. too. I just went to a restaurant. I saw him in the U.S. too.
Okay. So I don't understand now.
The issue
Europeans
is
have been.
not- Right. The issue is not unisex bathrooms.
What's the
issue
issue?
is that if you have a male restroom and a female restroom, who's going where? The unisex is fine. If you go into Starbucks right now, it's a unisex bathroom.
And they go in there together?
No, it's like one at a time. It's like a
No,
single
not
stall.
in Europe.
The one that, you gonna tell me where I went?
I've been there.
Yeah,
Well, you
that's where
got
I
there,
went.
and you
That's
could
where I went.
okay, but I
Yeah,
can
the
tell
place
you the
I went,
majority,
yeah. Yeah, the place I
a lot
went,
of them
it was a single stall, you
are
going one at a time.
okay.
Hey, Doc, something else you know about.
And that was in a restaurant in Paris where I had escargot for the first time in my life. They had two bathrooms. And when I walked up, there were three ladies standing there. Single stall. One went in, another went in, and when they came out, I went into the same bathroom as they went into.
But
and
you-
it was a
you
single
did-
stall.
You ain't have to. You could have went on in.
Hey,
But
two
anyway,
things.
Oh, they were in there? No, I couldn't have
yeah.
gone to jail.
No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, you can't.
That's
go
what
to-
unisex is. Anyway, Rod.
Unisex not using the same bathroom at the same
Hey,
time.
It
Bring
is.
Before I bring y'all back to Orlando, Greg, can you tell everybody what escargot is?
Delicious.
Snail.
Escargot is delicious. I don't care what y'all say.
It's
Hey, I
snail.
tried it too,
You
man.
never
I
had
didn't
it?
know-
Huh?
I was actually right. You never had it?
I
You
did,
from
but
Miami.
When I had it, I didn't know what
Did
it was
you
at the time.
did you have conch?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
snail.
That's snail.
A sea snail.
That's a big
Hey,
snail.
Doc, when I tried it, I didn't know what it was, and it was
What
good.
did you have with the
have it in the
escargot?
Yeah,
So how do you know what it was?
it was a trick placed on me, man.
Somebody tricked you. It was a snail shell in front of you. You say they tricked you.
No, not the snail shell.
No, they
Put
take
it on
the
I
and
thought
conch.
it was an oyster, to tell you the truth.
So they
Yeah.
had it like on a cracker or something?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh.
real quick, because we winding down. Orlando politics.
Oh, Doc, this is something I know you're gonna enjoy.
I already heard the foolishness. Yeah.
So listen,
The crack in that.
Listen, I ain't saying that. Bro. Listen, you gonna drag me down that road.
Yeah, Doc.
You-
Don't do
I ain't
that.
dragging you down that road.
Hey,
No,
y'all
sir,
know I don't give a
Bob.
damn. Hey,
No,
now
sir, Bob.
you know who you gotta.
Doc,
Let me
don't-
shut
don't
up.
put-
Let-
don't-
I
yeah.
know. I'm
Bob.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, but no, so, you know, right now the city of Orlando is getting ready to gear up for the city commission race for District 1, District 3, and District 5. As everyone will probably recall, Regina Hill is a former commissioner for District 5. She's currently awaiting trial for a elder exploitation allegation. That trial may take place in May, but if it doesn't take place in May, then they may be able to push it back to November. If that happens, she's going to be fully running to regain the seat as the Orlando City Commission District 5. And I would say, Doc, I don't know how you feel about it. That's your old stomping ground. But I think that she has a pretty doggone good chance of winning that seat back.
I ain't got nothing to say.
Okay. I'll say okay.
Y'all know in private how I feel.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna move on to.
But I will be making some phone calls.
Okay. All right. Okay, Doc.
And apparently it's only going to be, well, right now it's going to be a two-person race because only two people have registered for that race. Regina Hill and Shan Rose, who is the current
When
district.
is the end qualifying?
So I don't know when in qualified. I just know that election day is November 4th, 2025. So they got some time.
And a little
I think
segue.
in June. I want to say for that
Is it
seat.
June? Yeah, it might
Yeah,
be.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Let's Talk Nation expressed our condolences to the family of former Senator Geraldine Thompson.
Yeah.
But Greg, what's the news on? We knew it was gonna probably start heating up real soon, but I haven't heard anything.
Well, you're not going to really hear anything right now because the legislative session is in place right now.
Okay,
And,
that's
and
right.
I don't believe anything can or will take place during the legislative session. They don't want to sit someone or have a campaign going on while they are in the midst of handling the state's business. But shortly after that ends, I'm quite certain that they're going to announce a special election for State Senate District Seat 15. One person who's already declared that they're running for that seat is former State Senator Randolph Bracy. But this may be, Brother Love, a race that pits brother against sister.
Yeah.
Because former State Senator Bracy's sister, who is a current House representative for the state of Florida, may very well, if she has not put her hat in the ring, I'm sure that she's going to be courted in order to see if she has interest in that seat. And that is going to make that race very, very
Greg, have
interesting.
you ever, and Doc, have you ever seen a legislative race that pit family against family?
Nah, well, yeah, we have seen it was pit family against family. We just saw when Geraldine Thompson ran against Randolph Bracy.
Well, I'm talking about family
But
against
direct
family.
family against family.
Yeah.
Now, listen, pardon the historical reference, but I haven't seen anything like this since the North and the West met each other for this little thing called the Civil War.
Man.
So this is going to be very interesting how this all pans out.
Well,
I have some early predictions, but I'm gonna keep those to myself.
Well, before we end, Greg, the Orlando mayor's race.
So, Doc, you know what's going on with that one, right?
no.
Buddy Dyer said that he's not running.
Oh
for
yeah, I do
another
know
term.
that. That was announced a couple months back.
There's one
Before the new-
declared.
That's going to leave things open and very interesting because current state representative Anna Escamani has already declared that she's going to be running for that seat. Now, what we've all known for some time now, and I don't know if it's going to become public or not, but we've known for some time now that Tony Ortiz has been waiting a long, long time to run for that race. We also know that former City Commissioner Sam Ings has run for that seat. He may come back. But we also know that there's a rising star who is on the City Commission right now by the name of Bakari Burns, who may very well also put his hat in the ring for that seat, which that is also going to make this a very interesting race because that, in essence, is going to put Democrat against Democrat against Democrat, if I recall, right? Yeah,
Gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Gonna definitely be interesting.
yeah.
Last but not least, Greg, one of the items real quick, have you contacted your state rep or your senator, and you mentioned a legislative session?
Yeah. So as I indicated, the legislative session is going on right now. Does anybody know what is really on the agenda for right now? I don't think people really know. Right now, one of the things that's back on the chopping block is community redevelopment agencies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's been a state bill to sunset CRAs again.
Well, something
Hey.
else real quick, I gotta mention this,
I-
and that is something greatly important, and that is the issue to talk about eliminating property tax in the state. of
Thank you. That's what I was gonna throw up.
So that's being discussed now. A
Yeah.
lot of people are talking about how can you eliminate
Great.
that. People don't realize the state, the majority of the revenue that comes into the state is from sales tax.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
So people-
Greg, what's your take on it?
I don't have an issue with it. I think that they should get rid of, or if not get rid of, they need to lower state income tax and allow one of the biggest
Income tax? We
revenue
don't have income
generators
tax.
to do what it's supposed to do, which is to generate income for our state.
And last but not least, real quick, when you talk about eliminating property taxes, local governments are the ones that are looking at this issue real hard, saying, how can that be? And what would take place when you look at public service, fire, police, public works, things of that nature? I have friends that live in other countries. Once you purchase your property, you are assessed a fee for those services. So just imagine if you were assessed a fee and you're paying $500 a year versus the thousands that you're paying in
It's
property
it's
tax.
impact fees. We already do it. Impact fees. You only do it one
Yeah,
time.
that's all you should. You shouldn't be in the position to lose your home.
Correct, and a lot of people are losing their homes because
Right.
of that.
Right. It's always been unfair.
Hey, it's not fair that we talked about property taxes being eliminated and we're out of time, but hey, is that a topic for the next show, Greg?
That is a topic for the next show.
Well, my brother, hey, appreciate this evening, man, and you do not have to go home.
But you gotta get out of here.
Till next week, join us for Let's Talk Nation. Doc, we appreciate you scrambling it up a little bit, brother.
Hey, Doc will announce next week that he really Republican.
Hey, we'll see y'all next
You
week
know-
on Let's Talk Nation.
I just might. I know I'm
Hey,
not no longer a diehard Democrat.
You're not gonna have a choice, Doc. They're in chaos.
No,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Yes, y'all.
We
Hey,
Yeah.
till next week, we'll see you next time on
we're
Let's
just
Talk
taking a
Nation.
breather for right now.
Taking a breather, Greg.
Taking a breather.
Doc.